I'm ashamed of myself. I really am. I'm completely ashamed of myself.
Writing critically about comedy can feel as fruitless as trying to describe the tyrannical reign of Edward I by only using Simpsons references.
You Scots sure are a contentious people.
You just made an enemy for life!
The art of laughter is built on multiple disciplines, practices, and presentational methods, each wildly diverse and subjective enough to split the room into halves of yakking approval and stony silence. One of the few constants that transcends genre, geography, and generational tastes is the classic pratfall. Physical comedy was a calling card for many of the stars of early cinema, persisting to this day as audiences continue to ooh and at the sight of potential injury.
We're wasting valuable time. Look at the big board.
When it comes to hard knock, recoiling hilarity of the lowest order, the battle cry for a generation of millennials such as myself wasn't
I'll have what she's having.
or
Looks like I picked the wrong week to quit sniffing glue.
it was an introduction, a threat, and a greeting all rolled into one.
Hi, I'm Johnny Knoxville, welcome to Jackass! Whoa!
So after a century of nutshots, faceplants, and hair-raising accidents across the world of film, how did Jackass manage to capture the media zeitgeist with skinned knees and chipped teeth? Well, as with any good joke, a lot of it comes down to timing. Established in the 1940s, skateboarding culture began its scabbed-up ascendancy in the late 70s and early 80s. After forging its way as an underground pick-up-and-play sport, a new breed of skate-anywhere, skate-anything athletes burst onto the sidewalks and shopping malls of America as the craze took to the streets.
Are you filming this?
Yeah.
Documented by kids with camcorders and soundtracked by the anti-establishment audio of punk and hip-hop, it was an umbrella under which disparate artists, athletes, and countercultural groups could coalesce by the curbside. The underground circulation of skate tapes pulled these elements together into a visual presentation that maintained the electric spirit and frantic pace of wheels on concrete, and with each landed maneuver came a different kind of spectacle. Fails.
A lot of f***ing shit.
It quickly became apparent that while technical proficiency was the impressive crux of all of this, the asphalt-kissing agony of a failed trick gave these videos a substantial amount of their rewind, rewatch, and wince appeal. Then, at the tail end of the 90s, a group of Pennsylvanian pranksters decided to take the accidents and idiocy that garnished traditional skate tapes and make them the primary focus of their own idiosyncratic format. Camp Kill Yourself was born.
I'm gonna f***ing kick him in the face. I'm gonna break his nose.
Just f***ing dump jelly on him or something.
Jelly?
CKY in many ways is the prototype for what would become Jackass a year later. Skaters and slackers committing to ridiculous dares, disgusting and degrading feats of self-destruction, throbbing musical interludes, and occasionally, skateboarding. When aspiring actor come gonzo journalist Johnny Knoxville formed a warped brain trust with the crew and shopped their noxious blend of revulsion, wooden ramps, and reckless endangerment to network television, MTV was the perfect fit. They were a channel built on the back of short attention spans, instant gratification, and youth-oriented programming. Jackass was bite-sized dynamite. Assembled in a sketch comedy format and trimmed down to the hardest to stomach, easiest to digest hits and misses. It was validation for every dipshit teenager who jumped out of a tree to impress a friend, choked down something gross to get a giggle, or put themselves in harm's way for the guffaws and applause of their peers. Jackass didn't reinvent the wheel, so much as it Frankensteined together several proven concepts in a guttural guerrilla hybrid. Candid Camera had been preying on the general public's shock and awe for over half a century at this point. Gross-out comedy was at its zenith with the recent successes of American Pie, There's Something About Mary, and South Park. Stunt showcases, circus theatrics, and gluttons for punishment had proven themselves time and time again, from action films to touring attractions and state fairs. Jackass consolidated all these things in a way that felt vital, taboo-chasing, and relevant. As the program became a worldwide phenomenon, standards, practices, and MTV's legal teams couldn't keep up with the sheer volume of complaints leveled at the crude content and imitable danger that came with dumb teenagers trying to emulate their dumber idols.
Millhouse, you ready to imitate that Jackass show? All those disclaimers made me want to do it more.
In a move that initially felt surprising, but now seems inevitable, Jackass made its way to the multiplex in a trilogy of juvenile and ultimately joyous features.
It's gonna be a blood orgy.
What could have just been an excuse for an inflated budget, bigger paychecks for the cast, and more ludicrous drawn-out pranks is exactly what the Jackass trilogy ended up being. Which isn't a bad thing. Their combined $36.5 million budget reaping a global box office haul pushing $336 million, not to mention the home video market, which was booming at the time. We all know sex sells, but pain cashes its fair share of checks and we don't really question it, or consider why the sight of grown men screaming in agony as they flee from a limousine filled with bees swells our lungs with laughter. What makes Jackass convulsing moments of torment so funny? Delving deeper into our subconscious response to these faces of groin-shattering discomfort, the University of Milano Bicocca found that our minds tend to trip over themselves in situations of stress or sensory bombardment, sometimes struggling to differentiate between, say, a frightened expression and a funny one. This incongruity causes a reflexive laughing response. In the same vein, there's a subconscious devil on the shoulder of humanity that takes at least some pleasure in gloating at the mistakes of others. A lofty status diminished by a chucklesome tumble, or a lowly role solidified by stumbling ineptitude, instills the audience with immediately gratifying relief. Schadenfreude momentarily takes over to thank the universe that our social standing remains unaffected by their misfortune. With Jackass, there's also a sense of continuity built into each death-defying dalliance and stubbed-toe dance of spontaneous stupidity. No matter how beat up Tom Cruise gets saving the world, he'll be perfectly composed and ready for camera by the time another impossible mission lands in his lap. When Steve-O shaves his whole body, that dumb decision will carry over from one episode to the next. When Danger Erin loses a tooth, there's no undo button for that boneheaded move. The watch through your fingers amusement we know and endure wouldn't have such a fond place in the pantheon of pranksters if it weren't for Jackass ringleader of tormentors. Johnny Knoxville is a classic Gen X rebel without a clue figure, handsome yet self-deprecating, first into the fray and last to back down, and charismatic in a way that offsets the despicable situations he throws himself at.
I'm Johnny Knoxville, and I'm going to grind this rail.
While the rest of the ensemble work best in vignettes, team-ups, and lemon-sucking displays of one-upmanship, Knoxville charismatically channels an actor's sensibility into the anarchic looseness of it all. While a lot of the influence of the CKY affiliates and rotating Jackass crew comes from the aforementioned skate tape scene and their own America's Funniest Home Videos on crystal meth shtick, Knoxville was always more Buster Keaton than Burnout. Born of Hollywood rather than the halfpipe, but with a scuffed up slacker demeanour that keeps him the right side of cool in spite of his success. So, after all this mayhem, what became of Jackass? Well, mortality and infamy both played unfortunate roles in making the prankster model unsustainable physically or financially. As with anything remotely successful, it was copied, commodified, and carved up to the point of monotony.
Hey, what's up? We're here in Cambodia, and today we are getting dizzy with lacrosse sticks.
While some of its contemporaries and imitators held their own regional charms, Jackass was no longer the only fish in its putrid pond. In 2007, supporting cast member Don Vito was found guilty of some of the most abhorrent crimes against children before his death in 2015. In 2011, cast member and perennial fan favourite Ryan Dunn was killed in a car accident. Bam Margera fell into a spiral of public scandal and substance abuse. It's hard to focus on perilous escapades with all that baggage in the foreground.
The tour of the house will just be threatened to kill myself here, tried to kill myself there, humped some girl, I don't even remember her name there.
Then there are the extracurricular activities and attempted film careers. The best of the spin-off shows were slight deviations on Jackass formula, and Johnny Knoxville gave a winning turn in John Waters' most underrated film,
Let's go Saxon!
But the rest of their output reads like a list of wasted potential. Generic commercial fare, woeful vanity projects, and tepid attempts to marry cinema with their trademark shock, all crashed and burned. Yet, more than a decade on from our last dalliance with these dimwits, I still find myself falling back into their stupid sketches. It's an escape from the mortgage payments and tax returns of adult life, to the sprained ankle jubilations of youth. Young men acting invincible, while consistently proving they're anything but. It's a judgment-free embrace of our base comedy inclinations, where jesters become kings, tears lead to laughter, and overthinking things isn't an option. In a time when everything else is politicized and increasingly complex, I'm eternally thankful for the simple joys of Jackass. A knee in the groin to our Patreon producers Jennifer C, Claire MD, Becky O, and Nicholas Lair Revere, and a groin in the knee to all these amazing folks who help support us over on Patreon. What are your memories of Jackass? Do you have a favourite sketch, stunt, or moment of stupidity? And was anyone you know dumb enough to try and copy this stuff? No judgment here, it's totally fine if it was you. Let us know in the comments, please make sure you're subscribed, click the like button, and post something down below, as it really helps the channel. If you click on our Patreon link in the description below, for as little as $1 a month, you can get access to your name in the credits, as well as additional tiers that offer a membership to our In Frame Out Film Club and our private Discord. As always, thank you so much for watching. Until next time, this is In Frame Out.